Ball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. As Carl and the guys have been talking about for the last hour, we got the best team in baseball for you tonight. The unstoppable LA Dodgers, 78-32 on the season, winners of 43 of their last 50, featuring a former Met in Justin Turner, and the newest Met rookie, a guy they're hoping to build around in the coming years, shortstop Ahmed Rosario in his first week in the big leagues. So far this weekend, the Dodgers have flexed their muscles. Chris Taylor leads off Friday with a home run. Yasiel Puig hits a home run, and in his Dodger debut, Darvish dominates. 7 innings, 10 strikeouts. Dodgers win 6-0. Yesterday, the Mets hit 3 homers in the first. Normally, that's enough. But the Dodgers come back with 5 home runs in the last 4 innings of the game, and they beat the Mets 7-4. They are way out in front. By far the best record in baseball. Historic numbers being put up by the Dodgers right now. For the Mets, a disappointing injury-plagued season. Thinking more about 2018, really, than 2017. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Dan Schulman, Jessica Mendoza, and Aaron Boone. It's all about the Dodgers. They just refuse to lose. 12 out of 13, 23 out of 26, 43 out of their last 50. Guys, they're having a remarkable year.
Oh, Dan, they have a powerful offense that on any given night can do so many different things, and it starts with the 4 core stars that they have that are having the best seasons of their career. When you think about Chris Taylor, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, and Cody Bellinger. And then secondly, Andrew Friedman and company have built a ton of depth around those 4 core stars. When you think about it, even last Sunday night, it was the 3rd string catcher that comes in, walk-off, first career at bat, and Kyle Farmer to be able to do that. So no matter who the Dodgers are facing, whether it's a lefty, a righty, whatever their stats are, you're going to get a couple of their stars they're going to produce, plus a ton of this continuous depth that they have.
Yeah, Jess, and that depth has been on display all season long with their pitching staff. And the bullpen, which I feel like has been one of their Achilles heels as they've gone into the postseason each of the last several seasons, is now, I believe, at a championship level. They bolstered a little bit with some lefties at the trade deadline, but the big splash they made at the trade deadline was adding to the starting rotation with Darvish. Now it's killer at the top of the rotation, but amazing depth. Some of that depth we'll see tonight. Hyunjin Ryu from the left side, coming off perhaps his best start of the season on Sunday Night Baseball last weekend. He goes and really is pitching for maybe some action in the postseason.
Scary how good they have been and how much depth they have. For the Mets, as we mentioned, a much different story, but they're trying to stay positive about the future. First week in the big leagues for shortstop Ahmed Rosario. For more on him, let's go down to Buster.
Yeah, Dan, an avalanche of pitching injuries have all but ended the Mets' hopes for contending in 2017. And the reconstruction for 2018 has begun, and that has meant the promotion of #1 prospect Ahmed Rosario. In his first week in the big leagues, he's shown a quick bat. He's shown good hands. He's shown good foot speed. Dodger Dave Roberts says that he likes the way that he moves and the confidence that he exudes. These could be the very first days in the long reign of Ahmed Rosario, Mets short.
Mets fans are sure hoping so. They're looking for something to hang on to here over the last 6-7 weeks of the regular season. As for the Dodgers, as we mentioned, they are unstoppable right now. Big thoughts for October. Can they make a run? They just keep winning and winning and winning. How high will the total go? How far will the Dodgers get? They'll play the Mets, looking for the sweep here tonight. Baseball on ESPN is presented by Taco Bell's new $1 beefy potato-rito, and in part by Mitsubishi Motors, a century of innovation. There's been a lot of celebrating for the LA Dodgers this year, who actually started the season 10-12 and are now 78-32. Justin Turner, of course, well known to the fans of both of these franchises. He was a Met from 2010 to 13, played third base, really more of a utility guy, played all around the infield and didn't show much power at all. He's been a different guy, just a different guy since going to the Dodgers. Homering about every 26 at-bats. He's leading the National League in batting right now, and he is a mainstay in the Taco Bell Dodger lineup.
Yeah, the Dodger number 3 hitter and one of the real great all-around players, outstanding defensively at third. And he's kind of been the poster child for this Dodgers lineup this year. They struggled mightily against left-handed pitching last year. Justin Turner as well, an OPS over 1,200 this year against left-handed pitchers.
Left-hander Steven Matz is on the mound for the Mets tonight. Started the year on the DL with an elbow issue. This is his 11th start of the season. First 5 starts were terrific. Last 5, not so much, although Terry Collins felt better about his last effort, which was 5 days ago in Colorado. 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs. And underway here at Citi Field with a called strike. Tim Timmons, the home plate umpire tonight, and you're looking at Chris Taylor, another big part of the Dodgers' success story this year. The former Seattle Mariner, picked up in a deal last year. In his time in Seattle, he hit 1 home run in 291 at-bats. As a Dodger this year, he has hit 15 home runs, including a home run in each of his last 3 games. It's lefties well, a natural infielder who has transitioned to the outfield this year, getting a lot of time in left field right now. And again, just like Justin Turner's been a different guy in LA than he was here in New York, Chris Taylor's been a different guy in LA than he was in Seattle. But he gets rung up on strikes here.
Well, a couple of good high fastballs from Steven Matz. He will pitch up with that fastball a lot. He showed an off-speed pitch and then comes right back to the top of the strike zone and freezes Chris Taylor at about 93 miles an hour at the belt. No argument from Taylor as that clearly catches the top of the strike zone.
So Matt strikes out the first batter he faces, and now here is Corey Seager, who takes the breaking ball in for a strike. Seager, the Rookie of the Year last year, finished 3rd in MVP balloting, and arguably, Jess, maybe having a better year this year. His on-base percentage is up, his slugging percentage is up, his errors are down.
He is having a better season, and a big part of it is his numbers against lefties,
which he improves upon with a base hit.
And that's been something he came into spring saying, I didn't even have my ace swing, which is crazy to think of the season he had last year. But the big improvement he wanted to do was versus left-handed pitching with that single he just had, just staying more on time and being able to hit the ball up the middle.
Look at that, over 1,000 OPS this year, and it's a theme throughout this Dodgers lineup. Guys having monster seasons, especially against left-handed pitching.
And Justin Turner, another one of those guys. He's hitting .347 overall to lead the National League. Against lefties, he's hitting .394 on the season.
And that was such a huge topic last year.
Yeah.
It feels like it was a long time ago. It honestly feels like it wasn't a big deal at this point because of how well they're doing now. But I remember teams that they would face against any series would have all of their lefties going against them, and you expect it against the lefties like a Corey Seager, but the fact that Justin Turner struggled as well said a lot about their entire lineup.
Really the only guy in the lineup tonight against the lefty Matz who's struggling against lefties on the season is Yasiel Puig. And Puig's overall having a pretty good year, but he's doing most of the damage against righties. Everybody else in the lineup has good to sensational numbers against lefties on the season.
No.
And one of the things to keep an eye on with Steven Matz, from the left side, he is a guy that's very easy to run against. A pickoff move he kind of telegraphs, and it's been a bit of an issue for him this season. Look for some of these Dodgers to perhaps force the issue.
Seager with 3 steals.
You see it there, that shoulder turn that's going to start a little bit earlier that gives away automatically. You see Seager reads it. Plenty of time to get back.
Meanwhile, 3-1 now on Turner. Turner hit one of the 5 home runs for the Dodgers in the comeback win yesterday. There were 9 home runs hit in the game, a 7-4 win for the Dodgers. Bellinger hit his 31st. 9 home runs. The Mets hit 4, the Dodgers hit 5, and the 9 homers accounted for all 11 runs. Up the middle, great stop. Reyes at second, feeds Rosario to force the lead runner.
Well, we talked to Terry Collins before the game and asked him how Jose Reyes has fared and how he's felt about moving over to second base with now Rosario here. And he said he loves it and he thinks he's going to thrive in this position and playing shading up the middle a little bit. This ball's rocketed off the bat of Justin Turner, but he still handles a difficult hop on the dive. Gets up and gives a nice flip. They weren't going to be able to turn it on Turner, but an outstanding play ranging to his right by Jose Reyes.
Also thought it was a good example of a legal slide by Corey Seager to still just enough make Rosario hesitate to try to turn that double play.
There's Cody Bellinger, the rookie sensation for the Dodgers. 31 home runs in just 90 games in the big leagues. Seems like a shoo-in, a runaway to be yet another Dodger Rookie of the Year. Only 2 other players in baseball history have hit 31 homers in their first 90 games. Rudy York did it for the Tigers back in the 30s. Mark McGwire did it in his rookie season of 1987. A lot of firsts for Cody Bellinger. We may look back, decades from now at Cody Bellinger and Aaron Judge and say, man, that was a pretty special couple of rookies of the year. Runner goes. Throw down, tag, got it. Turner thrown out, and that'll end the inning. So the Mets with some good defense by Reyes, good throw by d'Arnaud, and nothing across for the Dodgers, top of the first. Well, what we thought was an inning-ending caught stealing out at second was reviewed and overturned. As you get another look, Turner getting the right arm around the tag attempt from Rosario and getting the right hand to second to base before Rosario tagged him on the chest. So the call overturned, and that'll be a stolen base.
And Dan, this is welcome to the big leagues moment for Rosario, where that's a play where you're used to as a minor league player just dropping that tag and the old if the ball beats you and you make the swipe in there, but obviously nowadays you've got to make sure you tag him. You've got to make sure as a base runner you hold the bag. Turner with some nifty arm and hand work there.
For Turner, his third stolen base of the season, so the Dodgers still up here. 2 down, a runner at second, and a 2-2 count on Bellinger.
Turner does a nice job with that left arm, recognizing where the glove's going to go down and his immediate reaction.
And you can't reach with your arms there. You've got to really get into your legs as a middle infielder there and make sure you go after them in your legs and don't reach, because that's when you're subject to getting fooled.
Just 21 years of age, considered one of the top prospects in the sport. Ahmed Rosario in his first week in the big leagues came up Tuesday when the Mets were in Colorado. 3-2 to Bellinger. Now if you're Mets, you think you're out of the inning. I mean, I guess everybody's conditioned to this kind of thing now, but instead of being out of the inning, now you got to regroup, you got a runner in scoring position, you got a dangerous hitter at the plate.
Absolutely, and you've had a stretch of starts where, you know, it's obviously been a struggle, and now all of a sudden you've got to ramp it back up against, as you said, a dangerous man at the plate.
And he walked him. So Terry Collins looking on, seeing the Mets having to throw a lot of extra pitches after the stolen base out at second after replay overturned it. And now Mats will face Logan Forsythe with 2 men on, 2 men out. Forsythe, the second baseman, hitting just .233 on the season. Much better against lefties than against righties, as you can see. And this is another area where the Dodgers are dangerous. They can play Forsythe against lefties, Utley against righties. They can play Kike Hernandez against lefties, Jock Peterson against righties, and on it goes. Quality depth and a lot of versatility too. A guy like Chris Taylor being able to play all over the field. Kike Hernandez can play all over the field. Means that Dave Roberts can get exactly the guys he wants in there on any given night.
So much of roster building now in Major League Baseball is building a roster that's flexible and capable of matching up, and the Dodgers have been brilliant at that, frankly, the last couple of years, at gradually just continuing to build that depth. And this year it's really played out perfectly, as night in and night out they have positive matchups from their support players.
Runners are going. Pitch taken for a strike, and there's no throw, a double steal.
And this is just Mats completely disregarding Justin Turner at second base, and he got a huge secondary lead with Mats not even looking at him. And give Bellinger credit for seeing that, knowing that he got that great secondary lead, and follows his partner and gets another man into scoring position. Just another one of those intangible things the Dodgers.
Up the middle, going to be a base hit, and it's going to score a couple of runs. So the Dodgers take advantage of the overturn at second base and jump out to a 2-0 lead.
I mean, that's an intangible play that, yeah, we get excited about the pitching and the great power that the Dodgers has hit for this year, but just taking advantage of a weakness of Steven Matz, getting another runner up into scoring position. And here, one of those guys that matches up well against left-handed pitching, just rolls a breaking ball back through the middle, and all of a sudden what looks like a caught stealing to end the inning is a 2-run first inning lead for the Dodgers.
Turner with as many stolen bases this inning as he had this season coming into the game tonight. Rosario unable to get the tag down on him in time. Replay overturning it. Dodgers take advantage, as they have so often done this year. And now Austin Barnes hits one hard down the left field line. That's a fair ball. Forsythe digging for third, getting the wave home. There will be no throw to the plate. 3-0 Dodgers. Austin Barnes with an RBI double.
Booney, you mentioned the depth. I mean, this is a backup catcher. Yasmani Grandal, who's been out. This is a guy who comes in and has come into pinch hit, come into pinch run, and you see this breaking ball down in the zone, hangs just a little bit, and Austin Barnes does a phenomenal job of being able to get his hands inside this ball, drive it down the line, and keep extending this inning for the Dodgers.
And just think about this for Dan Wortham now out there trying to, just have a word with his young pitcher. And I mean, 5 minutes ago he was walking into the dugout with a caught stealing to end the inning. Then all of a sudden now 3 runs later, and that kind of disastrous little run that he's been on just kind of creeps in there and continues to become an issue now when it really shouldn't.
But it starts with the homework. Justin Turner isn't thinking about stealing a base if he doesn't know that Steven Matz has a huge telltale sign of when he's going to pick off. So being able to know and read and know who the pitcher is and have the guts to go as a third baseman who's not very fast, and then the move he makes, of course, at the end to miss the tag of Rosario.
So 3 runs scoring with 2 outs here in the top of the first. And the batter is Kike Hernandez getting to start in center field. Another guy who's doing lots of damage against lefties this season. The Dodgers as a team were dead last in baseball last year in slugging percentage against lefties. They are 5th in baseball this season.
Yeah, 9 of those 10 home runs for Kike Hernandez have come against left-handed pitching. And in this situation, he's looking to do damage.
Hard hit ball under the glove of Reyes into center. Barnes around third, heading home. 4-0. No, now he calls him out. After calling him safe, Tim Timmons will call Barnes out at the plate. And now the Dodgers may want to have another look. Potential second look, second replay situation in this inning, as Dave Roberts wants to think it over. They got 30 seconds to decide.
Well, it's a great job by d'Arnaud of kind of deking Barnes as much as he could, kind of acting like he didn't have a play there.
I think he's out.
I think he's out.
The left hand hit the left leg of d'Arnaud.
The question is, does he give him a lane long enough to slide into home plate before he has that ball?
And good on Tim Timmons to see that the throw beats him, but that he knows he's out and makes the call.
Dodgers won't ask for a replay. Inning is over. 3-0 LA. To say the least here at Citi Field. 3-0 Dodgers going to the bottom of the first, and let's check out the Mets starting lineup brought to you by Taco Bell.
Michael Conforto at the very top of this lineup has been the best hitter in this lineup all season long, but he's kicked it up another notch since the All-Star break. In fact, he's on a 9-game hitting streak right now, hitting .350 with 3 home runs in that span. And then you go down to the 3 spot. Yoenis Cespedes not having the season that he expected, specifically the power numbers. Only 2 home runs in his last 32 games.
On the mound for the Dodgers tonight, the same guy we saw last week on Sunday Night Baseball, Hyun-Jin Ryu, making his 17th appearance, 16th start of the season. He was really good against the Giants last week. He went 7 scoreless innings, 5 hits, struck out 7. Faced the Mets back on June the 22nd. In a game that coincidentally Steven Matz started for the Mets, and in that game Ryu went 5 innings, gave up a couple of earned runs. A guy who just besieged by injuries the last couple of years after 2 good seasons for the Dodgers. Michael Conforto leads it off for the Mets. He has turned into basically the everyday center fielder for the Mets, and doing the job with the bat, hitting close to 300 on a 9-game hitting streak, on base percentage of almost 400. Big curveball, chop foul. It's 1-2.
And a guy who has really plugged up that hole against left-handed pitching, had to kind of earn those at-bats this season against lefties, and it's paid off. An .869 OPS versus left-handed pitching this season. He has definitely come into his own, and certainly a centerpiece now of the Mets and their future.
Did he go? Appeal down to third. He did not, says Jeff Kellogg, who's the crew chief. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I think he did, and Conforto's reaction, I think, said it all. He was almost starting to head back to the dugout after this swing. It's as close as you'll get, but he makes contact with that. His power could be a double in the gap.
He's gone now.
There's that changeup, a changeup that's been so effective against right-handed hitters this year for Ryu. He started to break it out more against lefties last week against the San Francisco Giants, and then here against a really tough lefty, you see the fade, and that thing just spot him out. And Conforto way out in front and over the top. That's a pitch that Dave Roberts and the Dodgers are encouraging Ryu to use more, even to left-handed hitters. Nets him a strikeout here to start the night.
Number 2 hitter for the Mets, third baseman Asdrubal Cabrera. There's been a lot of change on the Mets infield. Cabrera, of course, has played mostly shortstop in his career, but David Wright hasn't played all season, so Cabrera moved to third base a while back. Now Reyes moved to second base with the promotion of Rosario. Of course, Lucas Duda was traded, so Wilmer Flores right now is getting most of the time at first base. So all kinds of change for the Mets on the infield. There were high hopes for the Mets coming into the season. The thought, of course, is that the starting rotation would lead the way. Decimated by injuries. The numbers not good at all, and the Mets find themselves 10 games under 500 right now, which matches their low point of the season. They were 10 games under once back in June. They're 49-59 now. A team that was in the World Series just 2 years ago. They beat the Dodgers in the division series on their way to the World Series before losing to Kansas City in 5. And another strikeout for Ryu.
After going to the breaking ball earlier in the count to set up a fastball up in the zone, this is where, in addition to the changeup, when Ryu is on, it's his location and command of that pitch right there. Not only getting it arm side, but also locating at the very top of the strike zone.
But it's the respect that the Mets hitters and National League hitters have for that changeup that makes that fastball up in the zone appear even harder. That's blowing them away right there, Jess.
So back-to-back strikeouts for Ryu to begin his night. And now here's Yoenis Cespedes. Spent some time on the DL with a hamstring issue and has really not hit for much power this year by his standards. He's got only 2 home runs in his last 32 games. Something the Mets have not seen from Cespedes. And he looked flummoxed by that pitch. A cutter in on his hands, and it's 0-2. At times, of course, Cespedes has been able to carry the Mets offensively for pretty good stretches of time, but now is not one of those times.
I think you look for Ryu to continue to challenge him up in the zone with that fastball, or maybe even go back to that cut fastball. Cespedes, a very good low ball hitter.
Flares it down the right field line, just foul.
That was the first look at a changeup to a righty that kind of faded down and away. A pretty good pitch and a well located pitch, but Cespedes able to get to it, almost dumped it in down that line.
Foul by a foot or two. The Dodgers with 3 runs in the top of the first. The big hit, a 2-run single by Logan to Forsythe, and a replay review overturning a call. Another big play in that. Upstairs with a fastball, 2-2.
You can go back up there, but that's a case of you get 1-2. Sometimes you want to overthrow that pitch, and it becomes a non-competitive pitch. That's not a pitch he's going to offer at. If you can locate that fastball at the belt, though, you got a chance at success.
Cespedes checked the swing. Looks like Barnes wanted the changeup there, and Ryu shook him to the cutter.
Well, I think Cespedes showed that he could cover the changeup with the last foul ball that just barely missed being a double down the line. And I think going back to that cut fastball that he started him off with.
Changeup coming here. Got it. So Ryu strikes out the side. Conforto, Cabrera, and Cespedes. End of 1. Dodgers up 3-0. Citi Field, 3-0 Dodgers over the Mets, going top of the second here on Sunday Night Baseball. Steven Matz on the mound for the Mets tonight, and Yasiel Puig will lead it off for the Dodgers. Puig on the season a career high 21 home runs, including 1 in each of the first 2 games of this series, and he has accepted hitting in the 8th spot. Dave Roberts talks a lot about how he's matured, he's a better teammate, he's playing more for the team. less for himself. There's less drama in the clubhouse right now.
Well, and he's played a great right field on top of things, and I think he's become part of the strength, frankly, of this team.
He's also backed further off the plate this year, really focusing middle away, trying to get a little more lift on the ball. He would get burned a lot on that pitch right there in the inner half. You see kind of his face. That's why he's moved a little further off, so he won't get beat in as much as he was.
Hits it sharply, but right at Rosario, who will throw him out, one down. Let's take you back to the top of the first. Wild first inning if you weren't with us. Here's how it went down. Justin Turner looks like he gets thrown out, but it's reviewed and overturned. Stolen base, and after a double steal, a base hit up the middle for Logan Forsythe scores a couple of runs, and then Austin Barnes on the first pitch he sees doubles into the left field corner to score another run. Dodgers up 3-0 early.
Guys, their run differential for the season now at 199. To put that into perspective, the 16 Cubs plus 252, the 98 Yankees 309. So these Dodgers have a chance to approach that number set by the Yankees.
What they have done through 110 games undeniably has been historically significant. Now what happens the rest of the way, that will ultimately tell the story of this team into October and how deep they can go. But 78-32 is the best record in the National League in over 70 years. 43-7 in their last 50. Only the third time ever that that's happened in baseball, and none of us were around to see the first two. The 1912 New York Giants had a 43-7 stretch, and the 1906 Chicago Cubs had a 45-5 stretch. Dave Roberts has insisted to us both last week and this week when we saw him. He pays no attention to that. He's unaware of the historical significance of any of these numbers. It's about keeping your head down, winning a game today, and focusing on the task at hand.
Yeah, and one of the questions asked of him today is, does he worry about complacency with this team? And he just kind of shrugs that off and says, absolutely not. The culture is in place here with these Dodgers. These guys love to play. They love to prepare. And I think the biggest thing they have going for them is the competition that exists in this team. Yeah, the first 5 guys on the roster, you know, the Kershaws, now the Darvish, Seager, Turner, these guys, Bellinger. Yeah, they're superstar players. But really 5 through, take it even to 30, 35 guys within the Dodgers organization are all almost interchangeable. If you're not performing, there's somebody right behind you that's just as good and that's going to get an opportunity. And as we look at Chase Utley there, Cody Bellinger, Chase Utley, a big part of helping really put that culture in place of a team that just grinds, that works, that prepares, and that loves to play.
Justin Turner, another guy that Dave Roberts singled out as one of the leaders, one of the grinders on the team. Roberts, the reigning National League Manager of the Year. And you wonder if he can win it again. And it's way down the line of things the Dodgers are worrying about right now. But is the team so good that Roberts won't get the credit he deserves for being part of that culture, for instilling that culture in the club?
It's hard to believe that he wouldn't. And it's incredible to think that in his first 2 seasons he could be Manager of the Year.
Taylor with a fly ball to deep center field, but not quite deep enough. Conforto at the fence, better than 400 feet away to haul it in. Taylor that close to home run number 16, but Conforto runs it down. Rookie Cody Bellinger, one of the biggest reasons the Dodgers have had the season that they have had. And earlier today, Jess caught up with him for our Unlimited Baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile.
So your dad, Clay, played in the Bigs 4 years, won 2 World Series rings, 99, 2000 with the Yankees. You're one of those awesome kids that got to grow up in the clubhouse. Derek Jeter, Andy Pettitte, Mariano Rivera, so many of those guys. What was their influence on you, and what was that like having your dad around?
Yeah, unbelievable. I kind of look back, and the kind of team he was on with all the names you said was pretty spectacular. And the fact that I was in the clubhouse with them, being the bat boy, and you know, being around them and their families was pretty special.
You played in the Little League World Series. We've got that coming up in a couple weeks. 2007, you guys made it all the way to the semifinals. Your dad was one of the coaches. What was this experience, looking back on it, like?
Yeah, unbelievable. It was the first time playing on TV, on ESPN. I think we had our first game. We opened up the whole tournament, and I was playing center, and I kind of looked behind me. There's like 30,000 people watching us, and I was like, man, this is crazy. But yeah, like I said, I think that was the moment where I was like, I really want to play baseball, and I think that's kind of where I started taking it more seriously.
Started with the eye black. I love it.
Eye black, wristbands.
Yeah.
It's got it all.
I got to see you at the home run derby. I know your dad was one of the pitchers. Just the experience, the excitement that you had alone was impressive. But you hit 14 the first round, 12 the second round. What was this entire experience like?
It was cooler than I thought it was going to be. I was talking to Charlie Blackman a little bit. He was like, yeah, we're 100 pounds too light for this competition. Looking around, we saw Bohr and Judge. But yeah, it was super special. Like I said, I'm glad that my dad was there. Awesome moment for my family, and like I said, it was really fun.
I'm excited to watch you hit. I know you're going to kind of give me some tips and kind of go through a lot of things you've been doing this year. So let's go grab a bat and a tee.
Let's do it.
You have crazy torque, though, when you talk about your lower half and how explosive you are. You've always said you've had that. You mentioned your hands. What's something that you've done differently? I've noticed your hands are higher, elbows higher. Yeah. How has that been different for you?
Yeah, for me, the front hip, for whatever reason, has always been really explosive. That's kind of, I guess, where the power comes from. But my biggest adjustment was when I was not hitting for power, I was kind of using my whole body to load. As the pitch was coming, I would kind of turn in, and it wouldn't allow me to use my hands. And so I was using those balls, like I said, I was top spinning. And so my year in Rancho, I was hitting with some guys, and they showed me what power hitters do. And for the most part, they'll have this certain kind of hitch where the barrel goes towards the pitcher.
Yeah.
And me not being the strongest guy, I kind of needed to create a little more. And so for me, I just started my barrel flat, and it just kind of evolved into the hitch where the barrel goes towards the pitcher, and that for me allows it like a more consistent path to backspin the ball.
It's pretty cool to think that the evolution that he's even had, obviously growing up with, being in the clubhouse with those guys, Jeter and all of them, but he only hit 1 home run his senior year in high school, and 31 his rookie season, and talking about some of that development. But he wasn't always a guy that went yard, and now it's become a huge thing, especially this year.
Jess, my eyes light up whenever anyone talks about that load he talks about, that hitch. That is a power stroke. And one of the first things when I watch a young hitter or a new hitter come to the big leagues, if I see them have that move, it's not something a lot of guys have. It's not something a lot of guys are able to do. But when you master it and when you're good at it, it is lethal.
Why is it something that it's difficult for a lot of hitters to do?
I don't know, because I think we are geared to kind of load with our body and keep that swing flat. And that is a timing thing. It's a hitch thing, but it's absolutely a power move. It almost turns into like a whip. A whip with the bat and getting that elbow into your body.
But it's crazy to think, Booney, I mean, you used to want to be flat. Now launch angle is the hot new thing. When you look at Cody Bellinger, I mean, he's between 25 to about 40 degrees. Look at his slugging percentage when he hits the ball. This is last night against the slider at his ankle. His ability to be able to get underneath the baseball, which is not something you heard even 3-4 years ago. It was about having a flatter path, not having a hitch like that, because you wanted more of that back movement to forward versus coming down with his elbow. And it's not for every hitter, but it definitely is for Cody Bellinger, and it's been nice to see him be able to take that and run with it this season.
And we see why now in the last couple of years when teams would call the Dodgers and say, yeah, we'll trade you this guy or that guy, but we want Seager back or we want Bellinger back. can see why the Dodgers wouldn't do it.
It seems like we would hear absolutely not on Seager, on Bellinger, and Julio Urias, who's obviously on the disabled list now. But those are the three guys that have been truly untouchable, and the Dodgers are certainly reaping those rewards by hanging on to them.
Strike taken by Jose Reyes, and the count 1-2. Meanwhile, Ryu has set down the first 5 that he's faced, struck out the first 4, then got Granderson on a fly ball to right field. This is a quality arm who right now, once Kershaw gets back, assuming Kershaw comes back, and there's no reason to believe that he won't, but right now Ryu might be, say, the number 5 guy in the rotation. You've got Darvish, you've got Rich Hill, you've got Alex Wood having the best year of his career.
You got Brandon McCarthy that's going to come back. So,
and to Maeda.
Yeah, I mean, there's depth for days, and that's where that competition, I think, in many ways has helped bring out the best in this Dodger roster, because they understand they're pitching for and playing for playing time, not only down the stretch here, but in the postseason.
I got a piece of the catcher, Austin Barnes. The second time that Barnes has been a little shaken up. Barnes a little bit shaken up on the play at the plate in the first inning when he collided with Darno's foot or leg. Now this one got him on the bare hand.
Right off the knuckles.
Well, they tend to Barnes. One other game has wrapped up recently. There was a doubleheader between the Mariners and the Royals today. Seattle won the first game. Kansas City bounced back with a 9-1 win in the nightcap. Home runs for Hosmer, Merrifield, and Cabrera.
The AL wild card race is
wild.
It's going to be a lot of fun these last 2 months.
Kansas City is a factor there in the second wild card spot right now. The Yankees are first. Kansas City second. The Rays are just a half game back. There's Seattle at 1.5. And how about Baltimore? They beat Detroit today. They're only 2.5 back. And the Angels 3 back. And Seattle today also acquired Yonder Alonso in a deal with Oakland.
Power hitting first baseman that I was surprised didn't get traded before the deadline. Oakland taking the risk, sending him to waivers, and the Mariners pick him up. You
know, the Mariners went through a stretch earlier this year where 4/5 of their rotation was on the DL for a pretty significant amount of time. They could have been buried, but they weren't, and they're in the hunt for the wild card for a wild card spot right now in the American League with just about everybody else in the American League right now. A look at the MLB calendar on ESPN this week. Tomorrow night, it will be the Cubs and Giants at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Jake Arrieta scheduled to start that game for the Cubs. Red Sox and Rays on Wednesday night, and then we will take a look at the top 2 teams in the American League East as the Red Sox tangle with the Yankees 1 week from tonight. Meanwhile, Reyes keeps battling Ryu. Gets a curveball and lifts it high and deep to left center field, but it'll stay in the yard for Hernandez. And it's another 3-up, 3-down inning. 3-0 Dodgers at the end of 2, and 2, 3, 4. Seager, Turner, Bellinger coming up for LA. Look at tonight's confident performance brought to you by Quicken Loans. And man, the Dodgers have to be confident with what they've done in the last 50 games. It's been over a century since anybody went 43-7 in a 50-game stretch. Dodgers are doing it right now. They have outscored their opponents by 115 runs in that time, and they've hit more home runs in the majors than any other team during that stretch. As we mentioned, the 1912 New York Giants, the last team to go 43-7 or better in a 50-game stretch. It's only the third time it's ever happened in the major leagues. The Cubs of 1906, that's Tinker to Evers to Chance. Those Cubs went 45-5. Somewhat forgotten is that just 4 years ago, the Dodgers had a 42-8 stretch, ultimately winning the National League West the first of 4 straight years that they have won the National League West division. They started the year 30-42 in 2013. And then had a 42-8 stretch. But you know what? When you don't finish the job in October, that stuff tends to be forgotten. And so for this year, all these numbers are great. But ask any of the guys about what matters, and it's October.
Being from LA, that's all that's being talked about. But there is a frenzy going on right now. Even the cover of the Times this week. The cover of the entire paper is this the best Dodgers team ever. And that's been the conversation. Obviously an early conversation to have it before the season's finished, but the run that they've been able to go on poses the question for LA. It's been 30 years since they've been to the World Series, 30 since they've won it. But you kind of think about a lot of the Dodger great teams.
And look, that comes from the top. And Dave Roberts, you know, you ask him about this run and the wins, and yeah, it's great and all, but it really comes back to every answer comes down. We're in it to win a championship, and that's the goal, that's the expectation, and that's the only thing that will satisfy them. And you, Darvish, now obviously a big part of it.
Seager finds a hole and bounces it into right field for his second hit of the night.
Well, a little bit out in front of the breaking ball, but he does a great job of keeping his bat in that hitting zone for a long time. You see the top hand come off, but that's just so he can keep the bat through the zone for a long time. And he gets a lot of help over there from Wilmer Flores, who initially, I guess, figured that ball was headed to second base and started to the first base bag. By the time he redirected his route, it was too late. And that lazy ground ball rolls through for another hit for Seager.
Here's Justin Turner. Reached on a fielder's choice, stole second, then stole third on the front end of a double steal, and came to score on a Logan Forsythe base hit. Cody Bellinger waiting on deck. Well hit, deep right center field. Gone. Opposite field home run, Justin Turner, and the Dodgers extend the lead.
I mean, it just keeps on rolling on for Justin Turner. As we touched on, struggled mightily against left-handed pitching a year ago, but this now his 10th home run against left-handed pitching out of 13 homers on the year. And as we're getting accustomed to seeing with him, he transfers that weight to the front side and tries to make contact out in front, trying to get the ball in the air. He's done it repeatedly. And another big blow from this Dodger lineup.
And another smile in that Dodger dugout. Some long faces on the other side. It's been a rough weekend. It's been a rough year for the Mets. You know, Jess, it's amazing. You talked to Bellinger. He talked about being in Rancho. That's A-ball. Rancho Cucamonga, revamping his swing there. Justin Turner revamping his swing between his time with the Mets and the Dodgers. Chris Taylor revamping his swing. I mean, at least 3 guys in this Dodger lineup who, as pros, 2 of them as major leaguers, have fundamentally changed the way they swing at the baseball.
And in big ways. I mean, you hear guys tinker constantly, work on little things, even hitch movements that Cody Bellinger has done. But Justin Turner, I mean, when he was with the Mets, he was such a different hitter in his base, the way that he strode, not having the leg kick, not having that power, and then to be able to say, I'm going to commit to hitting things off of my front foot instead of my back foot. I mean, these are huge, drastic changes. We've seen a lot of hitters in this lineup, but there's a lot of stories of guys who make changes that doesn't work.
You know, some of the things Justin Turner has talked about changing are things that really spit right in the face at traditional, like, you know, how you're supposed to go about hitting, and to have the courage to make the change, then see it through, and then get the results. It's a giant tip of the cap.
And no, it's not a popular change at the time.
Right.
I mean, he was talking about launch angle 5 years ago, and he was talking about hitting off his front foot, setting up the tee off his front foot, transferring weight to his front side to get power. All of that wasn't stuff you heard about hitting.
No.
And not every player can do that. But
Now
you watch Cody Bellinger, sorry, Buster, and he's a guy that's going to hit more off of his back leg. He's a guy that's going to start tall like that, and you'll see him get wide into his stance, but his contact's going to be behind him. It wouldn't work for him the way that Justin Turner hits.
3-2. And he clubs one down the right field line, but he cannot keep it fair.
Well, this is another pitch up in the zone, and here's that swing you talk about, Jess. Against that stiff front side, just a little bit out in front. But you know what's interesting about all these pitches from Steven Matz is he's up in the strike zone repeatedly with the fastball. That's one of the few times he's gone down to the bottom of the zone, and that pitch is probably off the plate. But I think it's something he's got to do more. For as many sinking fastballs as Steven Matz throws, I think he's got to command the bottom of the strike zone. He has the capability of pitching up in the strike zone, but I think when you do it too often with two-seam fastballs, eventually guys catch up to it, and if you miss in the middle of the plate, those can turn into not just base hits, extra base hits, and as we've seen tonight, even home runs. But watch tonight. It's just remarkable how much Matz will pitch up in the zone with that fastball. And again, he's capable of it, but I think he's got to own the bottom of the zone with the two-seamer.
It's his best pitch.
Yep.
That sinker that he can throw, when he commands at arm side, the run and sink that he'll get in the bottom of the zone, that's where you see the numbers that Steven Matz has been able to do earlier this season, last year.
Logan Forsythe, the batter, had a 2-run single back in the first inning where the Dodgers scored 3 times. Breaking ball in for a strike, 2-2. The Dodgers have beaten the Mets all 6 games between these two teams this year, and they've outscored the Mets 49-15 in those 6. So it's now 54-15. The 4-game series out in LA back in June. '67th pitch of the night already.
But that entire at bat was up either in the strike zone or out of the strike zone, and I think it affects his secondary pitches as well. When he's consistently up and like that, he's not finishing his pitches as much. He's not getting the break he should on what is, when he's right, a very good curveball, and also with the changeup. When he's finishing that pitch, it's at the bottom of the zone, and that's when he can induce weak contact and even swings and misses with the secondary stuff.
One on, one out for the catcher, Austin Barnes. And activity now with the Mets pen with the Mets struggling. Eric Goodell is up. Barnes, 27 years of age. He is out of Riverside, California, originally a 9th-round pick out of Arizona State back in 2011. A guy who Dave Roberts told us last week when we asked him about Barnes, he said, you know what, he just feels like he belongs this year. He was up and down, AAA to the majors a couple of times last year, but he has found his role this year he has hit for power. He's got 39 hits. 18 of those 39 hits are for extra bases. 10 doubles, 2 triples, and 6 home runs.
When he's a guy, Dan, that can run the bases really well, play a multitude of positions besides behind the plate.
Rosario, Reyes on to first, double play. That'll end the inning, but the Dodgers scored 2 more as Justin Turner goes to the opposite field. His 13th home run of the season, and the Dodgers lead 5-0. Bottom 3, catcher Travis d'Arnaud leading it off for the Mets. Nifty curveball from Hyunjin Ryu in for a called strike. d'Arnaud hitting .249 home runs on the season. Hit a home run off Ryu back on the 22nd of June. 6 up, 6 down so far for Ryu against the Mets. Goes on the inside corner with a cutter 0-2. Got some fans in the house, Ryu does. Dodgers are packing it in at Dodger Stadium, and the kind of season they're having, you're seeing more and more Dodger fans on the road this year as well.
That's how it works, right? You get a team that's super hot. I'm sure there's a lot more Astros fans across the country as well. Dodger fans everywhere.
They've won the National League West 4 years in a row, but have not advanced to the World Series since 1988. They won it that year in '88. The hopes are sky high this year. That ball slammed into right field. Solid base hit, d'Arnaud. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Liberty stands with you. And Michelin, a better way forward. Sunday Night Baseball from Citi Field. And here is Ahmed Rosario, 21 years of age, shortstop, top prospect. Just called up to the big leagues earlier this week, played a series in Colorado, now this series here. He has 4 hits through his first 5 games, 2 of them triples. Hit .328 at AAA. Now granted, Las Vegas inflates hitters' numbers. He's got speed. He's not very selective. He will expand the zone. He will chase.
And that'll ultimately determine what kind of offensive ceiling he has. If he can control that strike zone, the talent is undeniable. It's outstanding bat speed. You don't see a overly large guy there, but it's a guy that can really drive the ball and then really run once he hits it.
From the Dominican Republic, two-time participant in the Futures game. And Keith Law has him, or had him prior to him coming up to the big leagues, as the #1 overall ranked prospect in the sport. Just 21 years of age.
And I think what he brings immediately to this Mets team, obviously his youth and the excitement that comes with that, but athleticism to the infield. They've already seen the range be markedly different than what they've had all season. It's allowed Cabrera to move over to third base. Obviously, we're seeing Reyes at second, but
chases the changeup. 5 strikeouts for Ryu. Tuesday, ESPN Films will feature 2 high school basketball stories and new documentaries premiering back-to-back. 8 o'clock Eastern Time, the Baltimore Boys, 9:30, the Morningside 5. Both can also be seen streaming live on the ESPN app. Well, when you're a little kid, you're just happy to be at the ballgame. Doesn't matter if your team's 10 under, 10 over, in it, out of it. You're just happy to be at a ballpark. Steven Matz comes up showing bunt. Swinging away, 1-1.
And look, these final 2 months for the Mets, obviously not going anywhere this year, but are still critical, because I really believe this is a team that has a chance to be highly competitive next year. And these final 2 months for a guy like Steven Matz, who's been struggling, but whose ability is undeniable. If he can turn and have a good couple of months here, finish the season strong, finish the season healthy, build some momentum, eventually they hope to get back Matt Harvey, Noah Syndergaard at some point late in the season. If those guys can come back healthy and they can build a little momentum going into the offseason, Yuri's Familia will be back at some point. Those are big, obviously, potential pieces heading into next year that all of a sudden make this Mets team a contender.
Another strikeout for Ryu. Well, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, the foundation of this team for the last several years, it has always been expected to be the starting rotation. DeGrom's been healthy. Matt started the year on the DL. Syndergaard and Harvey have been on the DL for extended periods of time. As Aaron mentioned, the Mets are hoping to get both of them back before the end of the season.
When Matt Harvey comes back, I mean, there's going to be a lot of eyes just to see, what kind of pitcher he will be. You saw the numbers of what he's had in the 13 starts this season, 5.29 ERA. Just hasn't been the Matt Harvey, and obviously the thoracic outlet syndrome, the surgery that he had. I've known a couple of my teammates that have had that as well, and it's something that you don't recover from well. And it affects a multitude of body parts, and when he does return, what will his health and what will his status be?
Terrific play by Forsythe. Conforto retired, and that will be the inning. Ryu pitching well, getting some good defense behind him as well. You're watching Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. Moments ago, Buster Olney visited with Dodger manager Dave Roberts.
Dave, Justin Turner has a chance to be the first Dodger to win batting titles. It's Tommy Davies 62 and 63. What have you seen in him this year?
You know, I think that his consistent at-bat quality, putting the barrel on the ball, getting guys over, and he knows how to find some outfield grass, and tonight he hit one over the fence.
Hyunjin Ryu tonight, what do you see?
You know what, he's attacking. He's on the attack. The change looks good. The cutter's good. Fastball command. Life in zone good. And, you know, he's got some punch-outs tonight.
Dave, thanks.
Dave Roberts, the manager of a team that is 46 games over 500, leading 5-0 tonight. Hyunjin Ryu, another impressive performance thus far after 7 shutout innings against the Giants last Sunday night. That's 10 scoreless innings now in his last 2 starts.
Guys, he's got a 2.35 ERA in his last 6 starts. So you wonder if he's altering the perception of what he could be within the Dodgers organization.
So the question, the obvious question is, okay, if Ryu, if everybody's healthy and if Ryu is pitching great, who would he supplant in a playoff rotation? Kershaw's going to be the one. Darvish is going to be there. Then you got Alex Wood, an all-star this year. Rich Hill, who was just named the National League Pitcher of the Month in the month of July. I mean,
it's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem.
But remember, you know, in 2013, Ryu was number 3 behind Greinke and Kershaw as they head into the playoffs. So he is someone that's comfortable in being in that spot and has been before.
Clayton Kershaw on the DL right now with a back issue. He is pushing to ramp it up. He's still throwing off flat ground, has yet to throw off the mound, but all signs point towards him being back and being Clayton Kershaw before too long. They picked up Darvish, who was brilliant in his first outing. We mentioned Hill's credentials, Wood's credentials. And then, oh yeah, Kenta Maeda. Brandon McCarthy's on the DL right now with a blister issue. But everybody cuts down to 4. Some teams cut down to 3 in the postseason.
Right, and obviously that's wherein lies these next couple of months are critical for the rotation as well, to kind of earn those spots and shore up those spots, and then it could potentially come down to matchups as Mats picks up a strikeout here where they match up. You know, how do they match up if they're playing the Diamondbacks or the Rockies, say, in that first round, or if it comes around to the Cubs and the Nationals? We know the Dodgers front office are going to crunch all the numbers and see where the best matchups are. That could play a big role. We know a guy like Alex Wood has pitched out of the pen before. So all these factors, if everyone is pitching well, will certainly all come into play. But Hyunjin Ryu looks like the quality pitcher he was when he was healthy the first couple of years over here right now.
And I think one thing we know too is so often in the past Clayton Kershaw's had to go on short rest in October. It seems unlikely that would be on the table this year, given all the options that they have in the rotation.
Which is why I think Dave Roberts, when we were talking to him this morning, said, you know, one of the most excited guys when we got the news, and obviously the entire team was excited, but was Clayton Kershaw when he found out that Yu Darvish was coming over, because he recognizes what that does not only for this team but also allowing him to be at his best, to have depth and not be relied upon to go on short days rest in the playoffs.
Well, according to everybody at the All-Star game, Kershaw went up to Yu Darvish and they exchanged some pleasantries, and then Kershaw said to him, "See you in 3 weeks," predicting that he would get traded to the Dodgers, which he was.
And I think, guys, this is where the importance of the Dodgers culture really comes in, led by Chase Utley. The players have bought into the idea that, hey, not everybody's going to get to play every day, and when your number's called, be ready. That's been the culture really, I think, since midway through last year, and it's carried over into this year, and it's worked really well for them.
And certainly different than the stories you heard about the Dodger clubhouse going back to, say, 13 and 14. Much different here in 16 and 17. 2-2 to Puig, and he chases strikeout number 5 for Mats. So what did they get when they picked up Yu Darvish? Well, they picked up a guy who at times has been an undisputed number 1, an ace. He's battled some injuries. He's come back from Tommy John. Extraordinarily high strikeout rate in his career, better than 11 for 9 innings, and lived up to all the hype in his first start. It was Friday night here against the Mets. And a lot of pressure. Dave Roberts talked about it. You want to come in, you come into a team that is this good, and the last thing you want to do is feel like you're not a part of it. There's pressure on anybody who gets acquired by the Dodgers just to keep the line moving. And Darvish certainly did that on Friday night.
I always say at this time of year, you can't underestimate the importance of getting off to a good start for a guy traded. A brilliant start for Darvish in his first outing with the Dodgers.
Matt strikes out the side, but it's 5-0 Dodgers. Bottom 4, and the incredibly hot Los Angeles Dodgers lead the Mets 5-0 right now, including a Justin Turner 2-run home run. Yunjin Ryu on the mound for the Dodgers. He's given up just 1 hit through 3 innings. Has not walked a batter. He has struck out 6. He will face the 2-3-4 hitters in the Mets lineup as Drupal Cabrera, Yoenis Cespedes, and a Wilmer Flores. Cabrera is going to walk off a little discomfort after that foul ball. One of a number of guys whose contracts are up at the end of the season, although the Mets have an option that they could pick up on Cabrera for next year, but it does figure to be a fair bit of turnover. And there could even be more trades this month. The Mets with some relatively high-priced guys who are in the last year of their deal could clear waivers. Some reportedly have cleared waivers. Oh, man. He did it once, and then he did it again, and this one really stunk. Some of the big names who are up at the end of the year: Neil Walker, Curtis Granderson, Jay Bruce, Cabrera again. There's a club option. Jose Reyes is up as well. The Rockies are still paying the vast majority of his contract. That's why you see the major league minimum there. But you know, guys like Bruce, Granderson, Walker, they could be dealt this month. And if they aren't dealt, there is going to be some turnover. And what do the Mets do with that money? How much do they go out, spend in the offseason to try to get some suitable replacements to try to contend in 2018? Was this year just a blip, or is it the beginning of a rebuilding period for the New York Mets?
I think it's a blip just because of the staff that they have on the flip end. And I know that's always the talk of the Mets every year, the potential of what those guys can do, but it's real. When they are healthy, and this is a team that can contend with anyone. See the strikeout there. It's always been a question more of their defense and their offense, and I think if they go out and get a couple more keys, you mentioned with Rosario adding that athleticism, Conforto being a leader now in the outfield, young talent.
We're probably going to see Dom Smith, another one of their top prospects who's having a great year at AAA this year. He'll probably be up sometime later this month or in September. So 2 young guys in Rosario and Smith that figure to play big roles next year. What's their development like? But it really all comes down to the pitching staff. And what is Steven Matz next year? What is Harvey and Syndergaard? Do they make it all the way back from those injuries? If they do, then they're absolute contenders.
Yoenis Cespedes struck out his first time up. 7 strikeouts through 3 1/3 for Ryu. And really pitching, mixing his pitches, moving the fastball around, throwing the changeup, throwing the breaking ball.
Well, Dan, we saw the increase in his changeup usage even in his last start, but the difference even tonight, where he's even kicked it up another notch, is going inside to these righties.
Yep.
He's been doing it with the cut fastball. He's been able to locate and command it on his glove side.
Right there.
And you see it right there. That's the cut fastball. So it's going to be just a smidge less in miles per hour than his fastball, but the ability to be able to cut this pitch, locate it, and just freeze up the bat of Cespedes. You see him just know that even if he tries to swing, he's going to get jammed up on his hands, and that's something he didn't do last Sunday night.
This is very similar to the first bat against Cespedes where he struck him out. Trying to get him up in the zone. He's missing bad with the fastball up around the letters. He's thrown him some cutters and then eventually has gone back to the changeup.
Boy, is he locating that cutter well.
But now he's got him set up,
Yeah.
I think, for that changeup. And you know it's in the back of Cespedes' mind, though, because this at-bat is kind of unfolding like that. Tying him up inside with the cutter, chasing him up with the fastball. And I think eventually to get back to that changeup.
That's what Barnes is thinking.
Cespedes, no, he knew he struck out on his last at bat. I think that's why you see 86, even the last foul ball he had before this changeup. I mean, he's so tied up, he barely was able to get to contact.
I think you can double up now on that changeup because you've created such a presence in. And he wants to go. Wow, curve.
And a ground ball to short. Showed him just about everything he's got in the arsenal in that at bat, and he gets Cespedes to ground out for the second out. MLB wants to see your best plays this summer, whether they're in the backyard or on the diamond. Show us what you've got on social media with hashtag MLBThePlay, and we'll feature some of the best all season long. Curtis Granderson making some friends in the on-deck circle as Wilmer Flores steps in. Flores, as we mentioned, getting a lot of time at first base after the trade of Lucas Duda to Tampa Bay. That's also traded away reliever Addison Reed and picked up a reliever in a deal before the July 31st deadline, getting A.J. Ramos from the Marlins, who figures into the plans next year as well as this year. Got a lot of closing experience.
Well, and one of the I thought really quality moves. Obviously, the Mets, you think about possibly trying to trade off pieces, but that's clearly a move to bolster next year's team, a team that they think is going to be able to compete. So you've got Ramos now figuring into that back end mix with Familia coming back. Who else can you go out and add after trading Reed? But I think the Ramos pickup, kind of an under the radar shrewd move by the Mets front office.
Mets have been held to just one single tonight, that by d'Arnaud in the third. And Ryu and Barnes can agree on a pitch. Jammed him, weak ground ball to short. Some funky spin on it, but Seager stays with it, and that's the inning. 4 really strong innings for Hyunjin Ryu. Dodgers lead the Mets 5-0 going to the top of the 5th here at Citi Field. Moments ago, Buster Olney spent some time with Terry Collins, the Mets manager.
Terry, this beginning of Ahmed Rosario's time as the Mets shortstop, how do you feel like he's handled it so far?
Well, he's handled it fine. You know, anytime you come in, especially in this market with all the hoopla that he came in with, he's handled it like a real pro.
Steven Matz, tough start tonight. What's the most important thing for him going forward as he progresses?
Well, you know, for me, Buster, you got to pitch, and that means you got to use all your stuff. You got to move the ball around. You know, you got to use different parts of the plate. You know, you got to get guys off the plate once in a while. And Steven's really struggling right now with just commanding his stuff. And so, you know, he's in a tough situation coming off the injuries that he's come off in the last couple of years. You know, he's just battling as hard as he can.
Terry, thanks.
And I like what he said about Steven Matz getting guys off the plate, because right now there isn't that uncomfortable at bat. You know he's going to light up the strike zone. You mentioned a lot of the top of the zone, but there isn't that. What we're seeing from Ryu on the flip side of coming inside in a way to hold these guys to then utilize a lot of his off speed.
Did he go?
On the appeal, Taylor went. It's 0-2. Taylor was strikeout on a fly ball tonight. Came into the game hitting over 400 since the All-Star break. Corey Seager waiting on deck. Top of the order here for the Dodgers. Taylor, Seager, and Turner. Bouncer to third. And Taylor retired for the first out. As Corey Seager comes to the plate, let's take a look at StatCast, powered by AWS.
Well, we talked about the success that lefties have had against left-handed pitchers. Well, everyone in this lineup, but in particular Corey Seager and Cody Bellinger, and just to be on that list with Bryce Harper. But this is the average exit velocity, left-handed batters versus left-handed pitchers, and that be up at 92.6 for Seager, 89.7 for Bellinger. Just shows how well they are seeing and hitting, driving left-handed pitching.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that stands out to me. It's one thing to be able to handle and accord yourself well against, lefty pitching, but also the power that they're hitting left-handed pitching with. I think that's what's so impressive.
Seager with some great numbers, no matter how you slice him against lefties this year. Takes the curveball just a little bit low. As crazy as it sounds, with the kind of year he's having, he's almost been overshadowed a little bit by Bellinger's exploits. Turner leading the league in hitting. Kershaw, Jansen, some of the others. 2 down in the inning. And speaking of Turner, here he comes, the National League's leading hitter on the season. Hitting almost 350 right now, and slugged a 2-run homer earlier tonight, his 13th on the season, second in as many nights. He has turned into a star. And as Terry Collins said, his former manager, he's turned into as good an offensive player as there is in the game. He has been an incredibly productive hitter when healthy for the Dodgers in recent years. 3 years ago, hit 340. Didn't play a full year that year because of injuries. And with all the talent they have, he's the number 3 hitter on the best team in baseball.
And oh, by the way, he's an outstanding defensive third baseman. And just another strength of this team has been the quality of their defensive players. We've already seen it on display tonight with a couple of outstanding plays. He's been tremendous over there at third base ever since coming to LA.
And oh, by the way, he's got a lot on the line with his beard. He's told reporters that if the Dodgers win the World Series, he's shaving. Okay.
Wow.
And so it would be a dramatic change for Justin Turner.
Because in a glorious era for beards, he's in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And the cartoon that we have for him and the Dodgers, I mean, it's such the telltale sign that that's no doubt about it. Ginger, red hair, and that beard.
Strike 3 call. Turner not happy here. Number 7 for Max. Want more sports? Hey Siri, download the ESPN app. Bottom of the 5th at Citi Field. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. And the Dodgers with a 5-0 lead on the Mets as Curtis Granderson steps in. Granderson with a fly ball to right field his first time up. Granderson, who last year was the Major League winner of the Roberto Clemente Award for his charity work, is having a big night tomorrow night at the New York Public Library, the 10-year anniversary of his Grand Kids Foundation. Foundation to aid positive youth development via education, physical fitness, and nutrition. Many of his teammates will be there to help him. In the last decade, Granderson's foundation has handed out over 3 million meals to needy youngsters. There are a lot of good guys in baseball doing a lot of stuff. Curtis Granderson is right at the top of the list. Outside, 2-2.
When he did it when he was in Chicago, left such a huge mark on the youth there. Now here in New York, it's just good to hear. We saw him on deck even just talking to some kids, laughing. He gets the bigger picture.
I had an interesting conversation with Curtis before the game about what he wants to do at the end of his career. He, of course, is 36 years old, on the downslope of his career, and he mentioned that he actually wants to continue his education, get a master's in educational leadership, maybe do some broadcast stuff. He's not sure if he's interested in politics. Wow. But he said one thing flatly: I do not want to coach. It's clear that he's going to pursue things outside of baseball, as well as perhaps continue some work with the union and some broadcast work.
Well, he'll have a lot of opportunities in a lot of different areas, that's for sure. Very upbeat guy. Glass is always more than half full for Curtis Granderson.
And one of those people you meet too that you just know whatever it is that he goes into when he's done playing, he's going to be successful at it.
Yeah, he says he doesn't know about politics. I think we should just start referring to him as Senator Granderson.
He's got a good ring to it.
Three-2. Routine play to first for Bellinger.
That's what I love to see.
Future voter.
Granderson grounds out here for the first out of the bottom of the 5th. Ryu has faced 14 batters, retired 13 of them as he misses high ball 1 to Jose Reyes. Been a tough year for Mets fans. In a year that they went into with high hopes. Hasn't panned out that way. But you know, as we've seen in the Arizona Diamondbacks are a great example. I mean, they had a miserable year last year. Everything that could have gone wrong a year ago for the Diamondbacks did, and now 1 year later they appear on their way to the postseason. Every year, for better or for worse, is a completely new situation and difficult to predict.
Even the Houston Astros with their strong run to get into the postseason, win the wild card game, get far into the season in 2015, then last year not even make it. Come out of the gate so hot this year. It's fun. It's fun about the game, and honestly, even the records and everything that the Dodgers are doing right now, and so many teams that are hot, come October, it doesn't guarantee anything.
I think especially in the National League right now, for as great as this Dodger team is, I mean, think about who they might be going up against in the postseason.
He went around on the appeal down to first, and Reyes strikeout number 8 for Ryu tonight. Play Ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation and making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org.
You know, the National League, of course, the Dodgers could be playing a Rockies or a Diamondbacks team in that first round. No gimme by any means there, and then possibly the Cubs or the Nationals waiting after that, and both those teams obviously with big time expectations and teams certainly capable of advancing to and winning a world championship. So
Yeah, do you think the Cubs are going to be intimidated by the Dodgers if they meet, or do you think that Max Scherzer, Bryce Harper would be intimidated if they face the Dodgers?
Absolutely not.
And if you're the Diamondbacks or the Rockies, you're kind of playing with house money. You got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You're going up against the favorite. You're not expected to win.
And a team you're very familiar with, which can work in
Absolutely.
your favor.
Yep. Both of those teams added at the deadline, the Diamondbacks and the Rockies. So, I mean, the National League is just loaded with top-end teams.
Yeah, you think Zach Greinke would like a shot at the Dodgers, perhaps? Pitching for the Diamondbacks? That would be fascinating.
One-two to Travis d'Arnaud. Hit hard to the shortstop Seager. That's another 3-up, 3-down inning. Hyunjin Ryu has allowed just one hit. He has struck out 8 through 5 terrific innings here tonight. Thanks to the offense, he and the Dodgers have what feels like a comfortable lead. Five 5-0 Dodgers over the Mets. Ahmed Rosario is the top prospect for the Mets, just up in the big leagues for about a week now. Let's get to know him a little bit better. Buster will help us do that.
Yeah, one of the best prospects in baseball. Rosario was born in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic in 1995. How scary is that? He started playing baseball as a kid. His father, Herman, was a judge in the Dominican Republic. He signed with the Mets for $1.75 million in 2012. He played the Futures game in 2016, 2017. This year, he batted .328 in AAA. You see his personal motto: don't be surprised, be ready. Ahmed Rosario beginning his time with the New York Mets.
Wearing number 1, now going into the shift as he moves to the other side of the bag. So he is the shortstop of the future and the shortstop of the present for the New York Mets. As Cody Bellinger begins the inning by fouling one off to the right side. From what you guys have seen in Rosario in the limited time that you've had a chance to see him, what do you guys like the best?
The quickness, and you see it with the bat speed, the defense that Booney mentioned earlier, the base running, and that's something that's huge because it adds not only to the Mets defense but the speed, which has been something they really need. And I know the bat will come, there's talk of him chasing, but you see what he has with his potential and the athleticism and the speed that he adds, not only defensively, also on the base path.
Well, scouts will use the phrase he's got a live body, and that's what jumped out to me when I first saw him this spring when I went to Port St. Lucie to see the Mets, and watching him take batting practice, the lightning that he has in his hand. I mean, the ball really does jump off his bat. There's a swagger, there's a confidence to which he plays with. And look, it all comes down to, can he learn to control the strike zone enough, like we see with all young players? What did we see with Aaron Judge last year? The inability to do that. He's made that adjustment this year. He's taken off because of the talent. Rosario has that kind of high-end talent. that the great players do. Can he control the strike zone and become an elite offensive player? That'll be the question.
Rosario in what seems like a constant conversation with Jose Reyes right now, not on the infield. Reyes moving over to second base when Rosario came to the big leagues. Bellinger sends one the other way for out number 1. Well, Rosario and 21-year-olds are excitable, and he was excited when he got called up to the majors, so much to the point where he tweeted out a tweet to Mets fans. We've grown and made it together. Grateful to share this moment with you. Thanks for your support. Things won't always be perfect, but expect me to give you all of me each and every day. So reaching out to Mets fans as soon as he got called up to the big leagues. That is the end of the night for Steven Matz. Finished strong, but started poorly, did Matz. The Dodgers taking advantage of him early. Terry Collins has made the call to the bullpen.
My name is Cody Bellinger.
Bellinger takes that one to left field. That is back at the wall. Goodbye. Another home run.
Left-hander driving at the opposite field.
Mighty big day, young man.
Hi, my name is Michael Conforto.
Here left field, way back. Conforto's got himself a dinger. Goodbye, home run.
That experience amplified my love for the game.
Many major leaguers started out as little leaguers, of course, and we'll have the MLB Little League Classic. The Cardinals and the Pirates will play in Williamsport, Pennsylvania at historic Bowman Field. It's an A-ball ballpark in the Phillies organization. It's the same weekend. It's happening at the same time that the Little League World Series is going on. And we'll share the stories of the Pirates and Cardinals from their Little League days. There will be a lot of interaction between the big leaguers and the little leaguers. We understand the Little League players who are there will come to see the major league games Sunday night between Pittsburgh and St. Louis. It's got the makings of a pretty cool weekend.
Yeah, add it all up, and we can't wait.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a fun time, and looking forward to seeing the big leaguers and the little leaguers interact, as you see.
Love the photos.
Totally.
Those teeth, that smile.
How about those swings? How similar and
for both.
Yeah.
Cody Bellinger, Michael Conforto, both Little League World Series participants back in the day. Back in the days, not that long ago. Maybe for them it is, but for us, it's actually not that long ago. 10 years ago, Cody Bellinger was in the Little League World Series. New pitcher for the Mets, right-hander Eric Goodell.
Goodell's done a nice job for the Mets this season. Fastball, low 90s, split-fingered fastball, and a curveball on for the 18th time. Outstanding strikeout to walk ratio in those outings. There's that split finger where starts it at the bottom of the zone and just bottoms out. Forsythe can't hold up.
Forsythe with a 2-run single back in the first. He walked in the third. Chased it again. 2 down. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Essilor. Better sight, better life. And Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, mortgage confidently. Citi Field, our home tonight for Sunday Night Baseball. Dave Schulman, Jessica Mendoza, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney. And it's 5-0 for the Dodgers, trying to go 47 games over the 500 mark. Trying to make it 13 wins in their last 14 games. Jansen, a huge part of the Dodgers' success this year, one of the best closers in the game. Yasiel Puig having a good season, hitting largely in the number 8 spot. Backhanded Rosario unloads on a bounce on the money. Barnes retired. Nice play by the rookie. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN is brought to you by Taco Bell. Bottom 6 at Citi Field. Dodgers 5, Mets nothing. Getting ready to try to take a picture of Ahmed Rosario as he leads off the inning. Sends a fly ball to left center field, but Chris Taylor, the converted infielder, runs it down in the alley.
Ryu has flipped in a lot of first pitch breaking balls just to kind of get ahead. Usually not a pitch a guy will offer at. Rosario, though, jumped all over it, hit it pretty well to left, but a good jump by Taylor out there. And Ryu in a really good stretch, second longest streak of his career. Now no runs allowed in his last 13 innings pitched.
Neil Walker will come off the bench to bat in the pitcher spot. Takes the curveball up and away. Walker, who had spent about 6 weeks on the DL with a partial tear in his hamstring, just activated about 10 days ago and really yet to get it going since getting healthy again. Just 3 for 26 since returning from the DL. And one of the guys, as we alluded to a little bit earlier, whose contract is up at the end of the season. Popped up in foul territory. Barnes there, 2 down. Weekdays on ESPN2 at 4 Eastern, it's Intentional Talk with Chris Rose and Kevin Millar. A 1-hour breakdown of baseball's hottest topics. You can also see it streaming live on the ESPN app. Two down and the base is empty. Just one base runner on the ninth for the Mets. That was a base hit back in the third by catcher Travis d'Arnaud. Ryu facing Michael Conforto. Smokes the ball to center field, but right to Kike Hernandez to end the inning. 3 up, 3 down. They go again. On the MLB calendar this week, with the Dodgers leading the Mets here 5-0 to go in top 7. We've got more action coming your way on ESPN tomorrow night. The Cubs and the Giants, and Aaron is going cross country for that game. He'll be part of the broadcast team tomorrow night, along with Eduardo Perez and Dave Fleming, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Wednesday night, the Red Sox and the Rays. The Rays right in the hunt for a wild card spot in the American League, and then the Red Sox and the Yankees, the top 2 teams in the AL East. 1 week from tonight on Sunday Night Baseball. A lot of those teams made some moves to try to strengthen themselves down the stretch. That's the topic of the night for Buster.
That's right. This week's poll question: which team did the best at the trade deadline? The Cubs, the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Nationals, the Rays, the Royals, the White Sox, or the Yankees? Tell you what, if it were up to me, I'd say Diamondbacks did okay, but America says the Dodgers, 31%, with Yu Darvish. The Yankees, 24%. They got Sonny Gray, the 2 big starting pitchers in the market.
It's interesting because 7 of those 8 are contenders. The White Sox, the one team that is trading from a different perspective, trading for the future, trading away some veteran players. A lot of people think the White Sox made out great, especially if you go back and talk about what they did in the offseason too.
I mean, you look at that list, and so many of them, it feels like did really well, and obviously time will tell. But one of the forgotten teams on that list, I feel like, is the Nationals. Only 4%. Remember, that bullpen was a disaster, and it now all of a sudden has been shored up.
Look at the arm strength on Rosario to get Hernandez.
And this is a play, guys, that, you know, the Mets coaching staff, front office, and fans, for that matter, just have not seen a lot of from their infield this year, and that's the ability to range. This ball hit sharply into the hole, but really no issue for Rosario. He gets to that ball easily, knows he's got a strong arm, plants his foot, and throws a seed over to first base. Peek into the skill set of Ahmed Rosario.
Well, let's get back to the trade deadline a little bit, and with the Nationals, I guess is Doolittle the Doolittle Madsen deal, is that considered a trade deadline deal? They made that one a little bit earlier. Okay, Buster says yes.
Yeah, because I would count the Cubs in there as a team that I feel like got a ton of attention when they got Quintana, because he was the big name guy before you knew that Darvish might be a possibility. Obviously Sonny Gray in that mix, but the fact that they went and got Quintana early, I think to me plays part of why they're winners. To be able to take him off the market and then add Justin Wilson and Alex Avila.
Because Quintana not only is a short-term play, but also an outstanding long-term play for the Cubs. So a lot of looking at that list, man, it's like, man, those teams all got a lot better and shored up some serious holes on their club.
Well, and has anybody, you mentioned the Diamondbacks, has anybody done more for their new team than JD Martinez has done for Arizona?
Well, especially when you think about who they're going to match up, because that's what they're thinking about is the postseason. Obviously, they need to get there, but the Diamondbacks are thinking about matching up against the Dodgers, who have a ton of left-handed starting pitchers. So they add to already some really strong hitters in Goldschmidt.
Hansel Robles airmails one to the backstop. He had some issues Thursday in Colorado where a pitch like that one went to the backstop and forced in the winning run, and later complained of some numbness in his hand.
That's 2 pitches now way up and in to Yasiel Puig, and you wonder if that's
there's intent, you're saying? Puig with a fly ball to deep right center, but playable for the second down.
No, not necessarily intent, but perhaps that the issue you're talking about. And Robles looks like he's saying something to Puig here. And Puig just kind of puts his head down. Maybe it was him saying, I just didn't have any feeling, and that got away from me. That's what I would imagine he said to Puig. I'm not doing anything intentionally, because that was 2 pitches that completely got away up and in, that at first glance looked like pitches that you would raise some eyebrows.
And the first one, Darno was set up away.
Yeah.
And again, this was an issue for Robles Thursday in Colorado. Apparently he checked out medically okay after the game, but in the immediate aftermath of the game, he talked about an inability to really get a lot of feeling in his fingers. And there for another strike, and it's 0-2 on Ryu.
And I think Ryu's going to school on that, sitting on deck, and wants no piece of anything right now.
He's moving his body away from the pitch, stepping in the bucket as much as you can.
Let's just get this thing over with.
Strike 3 call to end the inning. 7th inning stretch at Citi Field, 5-0 Dodgers. came in as the best team in baseball, and not a whole lot has changed tonight. Justin Turner with a key stolen base. Logan Forsythe drives in a couple with a 2-run single in the first. The Dodgers would get 3 in the first. Hyunjin Ryu has been outstanding for his second consecutive start. 6 shutout innings and 8 strikeouts tonight for Ryu. Justin Turner launching an opposite field 2-run homer, his second home run in as many games, and the Dodgers with a 5-0 lead going to the bottom of the 7th. The Mets have been held to just 1 hit, 1 base runner in fact tonight, as Ryu has been terrific, and the Dodgers again clicking on all cylinders. MLB.com at bat is your #1 mobile app for live baseball. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience. Get club branded home screen icons and app features, plus game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcast, statcast news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat today. First pitch swinging, and as Asdrubal Cabrera is retired. And Ryu just keeps cruising along. 86 pitches through 6 1/3.
He's been strong with all of them tonight. Not just the fastball command, but the changeup, the cut fastball, and his curveball, getting a couple Ks in there as well.
I mean, he's been great, and I mean, he's obviously back and feeling healthy, and I think enjoying this competition, knowing that he's pitching for more and more opportunities. He's had it work in his last few starts now. He's always had that simple kind of athletic delivery that's easy to repeat. He's been able to throw pretty much whatever he wants and command it. Now for his last 2 starts that we've seen.
Prior to this Cespedes at bat, Ryu had picked up his last 4 outs on 6 pitches. He needed only 5 pitches to retire the Mets' last inning. And again, with the acquisition of Darvish, and once Kershaw is back, the depth of this rotation is unrivaled in baseball. Kershaw on the DL with a back issue. He's going to meet the team Tuesday in Arizona, and reportedly will throw then. He's been throwing off flat ground. And one of the luxuries the Dodgers have with the record they have and the lead they have is they don't have to rush him back. He wants to come back as soon as possible, you know that, but they can be a little bit overly cautious with him and hope to have him at his best for October. And although you know that Clayton Kershaw would love to be out there pitching, I mean, for him to maybe have a few less miles on the odometer going into the playoffs might not be the worst thing for the Dodgers.
Absolutely. I mean, look, it's about that back being 100% and then being able to get enough starts heading into the postseason. We saw last year where he was out for an extended period with the back and came back and was incredibly strong down the stretch and in the postseason. Dodgers for hoping for more of that with their ace.
.234 career regular season ERA, a .204 ERA this year. Curveball grounded to short. 2 down. He'd have been about as good as he's ever been, and that's about as good as anybody's ever been this year. 15-2, leading the majors in both wins and ERA on the season. And now sidelined by a back for the 2nd year in a row, but this is a different back injury and reportedly a less significant back injury. And there didn't appear to be any concern on the face of Dave Roberts when we talked to him about Kershaw before the game.
And I think another thing going for Kershaw and the Dodgers rotation for that matter, that I think is the biggest difference than in past years is the bullpen. And there were years in there where I felt like they probably extended Kershaw further in games in the postseason than if they had guys capable in the setup role to get the ball to Kenley Jansen. I think now they have that. They've addressed that and have that covered.
And then some.
And then some.
I think adding Tony Watson, Tony Cingrani, this was already one of the best bullpens in all of baseball. And they go and get 2 big lefty arms.
It's interesting, too, guys. You know, Clayton Kershaw is not like a 39-year-old veteran who's waited 20 years for a chance to win a championship. But I've heard from a lot of folks within the Dodgers organization, there's a lot of sentiment, hey, let's win one for Clayton, given everything that's going on in the postseason with him.
High fly ball to left field off the bat of Flores. Taylor on the track, and the inning is over. 7 scoreless for Hyunjin Ryu. Baseball on ESPN is presented by Taco Bell's new $1 beefy potato-rito, and in part by Goodyear, tires chosen by experts for superior performance. Goodyear, more driven. And Liberty Mutual Insurance. Liberty stands with you. MLB.tv every night, every device. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. It has been all Dodgers tonight here at Citi Field. 3 in the first, 2 in the third, 5-0 they lead. Going to the top of the 8th. And Chris Taylor will lead it off against a new pitcher for the Mets, left-hander Josh Smoker.
Smoker, mid-90s fastball, slider, and split on for the 30th time. High ERA, command control can be a real issue. 21 walks in just over 34 innings of work. A pretty high number.
Justin Turner, who's homered already tonight, waiting for his chance this inning. He's due up third. Seager's on deck. Taylor's at the plate. Taylor becoming an everyday player for the Dodgers. Hitting over 300, hitting for power. He's got speed. He's got versatility defensively.
And the biggest difference is consistently swinging the bat this season. You mentioned earlier the overhauls he's made to his swing, the effort that he made in the offseason to be a more consistent hitter, and it's a fastball that he really struggled with the most. And when you look at a lot of the different things, it's the leg kick with his hands, and he calls it kind of like an ice cream scoop in the knee. And you'll see him kind of get up with the knee and with his hands together. So kind of almost scooping both to be able to get that gather, that rhythm with his hands, but also that power with his lower half.
You know, and it begs the question, we talk about the depth the Dodgers have. We haven't said the name Adrian Gonzalez yet tonight. He is due back probably within a couple of weeks. He plays first. Let's assume he plays on a fairly regular basis, at least against righties. Cody Bellinger, who can play the outfield and very well moves to the outfield. How does that affect, and we're just assuming some things here, how does that affect Taylor and Peterson and Puig?
Well, it's another one of the beauties of this roster in the versatility, because Taylor can play so many different positions, because Bellinger, it can legitimately go out and play frontline defense in the outfield. It opens up that spot, and the Dodgers, look, obviously Taylor's going to be playing, Bellinger's going to be playing, so they're going to play what gives them the best chance to win and the strongest matchups, and it'll be, I think, as simple as that. If it matches up properly, that lineup will be out there.
And the strongest lineup, you also look at who's struggling, and the fact that Bellinger could go and play left field.
Yep.
Taylor can move to second base. And Forsythe could be a guy that you're seeing out of the lineup if his bat doesn't get going. And that's assuming that Adrian Gonzalez comes back and is the hitter that deserves to be in the lineup, at least consistently.
You know what this sounds a lot like? Team with great starting pitching, deep bullpen, defensive versatility, can beat you with their bats or their legs, can beat you a lot of different ways. Sounds like the 2016 Chicago Cubs.
Absolutely.
Seager with a bouncer to first, 2 down. Although nothing is guaranteed in October, any baseball fan knows that, and any current Dodger knows that, but still, given the way this season is going, you have to like their chances, especially if Justin Turner keeps doing what he's been doing all season. 2-run shot earlier tonight.
Continues to own left-handed pitching. Now 10 of his 13 homers have come against southpaws. Again, something that was an area where he struggled last year. This team struggled last year, and now is just another one of their strengths.
Sends one deep down the left field line. It's a fair ball off the wall on a bounce, and Turner is on his way to second base with a double.
Why Turner has been one of the best hitters in the National League, if not baseball, because of what he's been able to do. He gets a home run on a fastball away. Now he gets a breaking ball down and breaking down towards his ankles, but watch him go get it. And this is something he'll talk about. He has so much confidence on his front foot, being able to get his weight out front, so then he has that ability.
Something he works on all the time right there.
All the time. He'll get a tee and literally put it where that pitch was. So yes, he can hit the fastball away, the breaking ball down, but also the takes. And that's what I've seen against lefties. The biggest difference is he would chase that inside pitch on his hands. He spits on it now. He knows that's a pitch he can't get to, and he looks for pitches that he got tonight and is able to drive.
One of the new acquisitions at the deadline, left-hander Tony Cingrani, is up in the Dodger pen, so that suggests that Hyunjin Ryu is done for the night. Cingrani coming from the Reds. One of 2 lefty relievers acquired at the deadline. Tony Watson, the other one. This ball is crushed. Man, what a shot for Bellinger. His 32nd on the season.
Some homers, Jess, are just a little bit different.
As soon as this ball, as he made contact, and we talked about it again with the exit velocity of lefty on lefty, this pitch left over the middle of the plate, but that torque that he gets, watch his lower half trigger his upper half. So he has such a violent way of being able to get to that front foot, almost over the top of it. And then he backs that ball up, gets behind it, crushed. Home run the moment he makes contact.
One of the first things I did when he hit that is looked at the Mets dugout and looked at the Dodgers dugout, and just the reaction. Like, obviously the Dodgers have seen this a lot, but it's still amazing when you see a ball hit like that ball was just center to center field.
Mike Conforto gave him like the courtesy, maybe 2-3 steps, but he could have easily just sat there and done the, yeah, that's out. I'm not even breaking.
Jess, one of the things he said to you when you talked to him before the game in the interview we ran earlier is, you know, I'm not really that strong of a guy. Tell that to that baseball.
You know, but that's what I love. You're going to have your Aaron Judges and your Carlos Stantons and the guys that are huge and massive and you expect to hit home runs. I love when you see a guy like Cody Bellinger do what he does because of his size. Because it is about bat speed, torque, utilizing the body that you have in unique ways.
That's got to be like 440 to the right of center on a line.
447, measured. 447.
I mean, it's like, it's got a little Darryl Strawberry feel to me, and obviously Mets fans know all about that. But you know, long, wiry, tremendous torque,
and tremendous sound.
Oh my! Did it sound that good down there? It certainly sounded great up here, Buster.
Yeah, lightning bolt.
Man alive.
3-2 to Forsythe. Up the middle, a base hit.
You just watch what he's able to do. Again, it's that ability to get over the top of that front foot and then create the whip then with his backside, and he just backs up that baseball, so he gets behind it and under it. And this is a guy that, yes, launch angle 30 to 40 degrees when he hits those home runs, an ability to drop that elbow down, but it's what he does with that body.
Just turned 22.
He's such a kid still, and he's enjoying this whole ride.
It's like a slingshot up there.
I love talking to him too when he talked about the first time he picked up a bat at 5 years old. And he said, you know what, I've always had that just kind of unique way of just taking a hack, you know, and he didn't always hit a lot of home runs, but he always had an explosive move, and he stuck with that, and he had hitting coaches along the way that kind of worked with his natural ability and didn't change, even though he was a little different.
You know what's cool too? The other Dodger players love him. I mean, sometimes I've covered teams, a young guy comes up, he has success, they don't feel like he acts the right way. That is not the case with Cody Bellinger. They love him.
Strike taken, 3-1 on Austin Barnes. Second home run, I'm sorry, just second home run hit tonight by the Dodgers. They've now hit 25 home runs in 7 games against the Mets this year. 25. Ground ball to third, and that's the inning. But it was a loud one thanks to that young man. Cody Bellinger drives one out to deep right center. 7-0 Dodgers.
It's a big deal to play Friday night in Texas. You're getting to do it at a special time. 6 of y'all. Let's go!
The smallest towns in Texas play 6-man high school football, but what happens in one school when the team only has 5 players? Tune into SportsCenter after tonight's game for the 6th man, this week's SC feature. Bucci and Anderson will have that and everything else you need to know. NFL training camp news, big day in Major League Baseball. SportsCenter at night is next here on ESPN. Changes for the Dodgers, including a new pitcher coming out of the bullpen, left-hander Tony Cingrani.
Well, one of the newly acquired Dodgers is Tony Cingrani, on for the 27th time, obviously mostly with the Reds there. The Dodgers feel like the ceiling is very high with Cingrani. He's got a live arm, big fastball. I'm hoping maybe not only can he fit into the short-term mix, but the long-term mix as well.
You saw Kyle Farmer is in at third base for the Dodgers. He's the 3rd-string catcher, but can play some infield spots as well. Cingrani, a guy who broke in as a starter and got off to a really good start in his career, sustained some injuries, eventually moved to the bullpen on a full-time basis. But the Dodgers like his arm, like his raw stuff. And along with Watson and Luis Avilan, they've now got 3 lefties in the bullpen. Curtis Granderson leads off the 8th for the Mets. He's 0 for 2. We asked Dave Roberts before the game with Cingrani and Watson and Avilan, how will you determine the pecking order? Who pitches in what spots? And he said it'll come down to matchups and usage. Who's fresh, who's not, and who matches up best with the particular team or individual players that they are seeing that night.
And that's the thing that Dave Roberts was talking about, with all 3 of those lefties, each a little bit different, each match up a little bit differently with different hitters' strengths and weaknesses.
Sweeping slider to get him 1 down. Meanwhile, speaking of lefties, the guy who started the game tonight had quite a night for the Dodgers in Hyun-Jin Ryu.
Well, and usually these 3 pitches, this changeup with the arm side to both lefties and righties, the curveball had that depth, that late break that he was able to get that bite and swings and misses, and then the cutter being able to use this pitch both sides of the plate, backdooring it to righties, cutting away to lefties. 8 strikeouts, just the 1 hit. All cylinders for Hyun-Jin Ryu tonight.
I think what was so impressive about, he showed you so many different ways he's able to get you out tonight. And you know, coming into the night, we thought the changeup would play a huge role, and it was certainly a factor tonight, but he threw far less, I would bet, than he threw last week. But like you said, the curveball was an effective pitch for him, spotting the fastball, controlling both sides of the plate. It was frankly a dominating outing for 7 innings.
Jose Reyes, the batter, against Cingrani. 7-0 Dodgers. Home runs for Turner and Bellinger. The obvious question to the manager of a team like the Dodgers is, are you worried about complacency because things are going so well? And Dave Roberts said that is absolutely the last thing that he is worried about. He goes, yeah, every now and again a pitch in the dirt doesn't get blocked or somebody makes a mistake, but he made it sound like never, not once, has he had to worry about focus or effort or intensity or any of those things. Forsythe charging and gets him.
Well, when the complacency question comes up, it's a lot of times your leadership, not from Dave Roberts, but within the team. And even talking to Corey Seager, so many players on this team prior to this game, they point one finger at one person, and that's Chase Utley. And yeah, he might play, he's a role player, he's on the bench a lot, but when he comes in and just the dynamic that he has, the voice he has, the experience that he brings, we rave about Cody Bellinger and the young players on this team, but when you get a veteran, especially like Chase Utley, to set the tone, he's the one they point to, Dan, when they fear at all if there is any sort of complacency, he leads them the other direction.
Well, that culture, as we've said, is certainly in place. That winning culture, that blue-collar culture that they've created here. But I think the ultimate thing they've got going for them is competition. And that will...
Internal competition.
Absolutely. Internal competition that'll put a squash to complacency. You get complacent on this team, you don't play, because there's another guy right behind you that's either just as good or even better if you're not playing up to par.
You got Kyle Farmer right now at third base. We got to see him last Sunday night with a walk-off, his first career major league at bat. Yeah, he's a third-string catcher, comes off, huge moment, bottom of the 11th inning, works an 0-2 count. He looks like he's beat on, works it back to a full count, gets the double to win the game, and that's just another example of one more guy that you're right. Hey, you're not producing, you're complacent. Well, here we go. Here's another one that can take the place.
Yeah, and he epitomizes this team, the versatility. Playing third base right now. Austin Barnes capable of moving all over the place, so just gives them more options, more roster flexibility, and the ability to get the matchups they want night in and night out because they're able to move guys around.
So what's the biggest threat to this team winning in October?
I think other high-end teams in the National League. That, you know, you get in certainly that first round in a 5-game series, but in a 7-game series where you're playing elite teams that I think exist in the National League, anything can still happen.
Cingrani with a 3-up, 3-down inning. Can anything burst the bubble? Forgive me. For the LA Dodgers this year. Weekdays on ESPN2 at 4 Eastern, it's Intentional Talk with Chris Rose and Kevin Millar. A 1-hour breakdown of baseball's hottest topics. You can also see it streaming live on the ESPN app. And there is no hotter topic right now than the LA Dodgers, the first team in over a century. So if you think some of this is overhyped, it's the first team in over a century to go 43-7 in a 50-game stretch, and they're on their way to another win tonight. Out of the Mets pen, right-hander A.J. Ramos.
Well, that guy they picked up from the Marlins, a guy they know well, obviously within the division, closer for the Marlins the last couple of seasons. But this a move more about 2018. Certainly will be part of the back end mix. Fastball, a heavy dose of sliders, changeup, occasional curveball, but primarily fastball, slider, change.
Kike Hernandez leading off the ninth for the Dodgers. Tonight 1 for 3, had a base hit back in the first as the appeal down to first did not go. 2 balls and a strike on Hernandez. Will be followed by Yasiel Puig and then Kyle Farmer. Dodgers with an off day tomorrow. They will fly to Arizona tonight, have an off day tomorrow. They will start a 3-game series with their division rival, the Diamondbacks, on Tuesday. Diamondbacks and Rockies both lost today. The Mets are off tomorrow, and they will host Texas for 2 games, Tuesday and Wednesday, before going to Philadelphia for 4, as Ramos strikes out Hernandez for the first out. And up in the Dodger bullpen is their closer, Kenley Jansen, who has not pitched since Tuesday. With an off day tomorrow, looks like he's going to get some work in tonight.
Although, correction for you, Dan, the Dodgers will be flying to Arizona tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sorry. So they will spend the night here in New York.
Spend the night with the off day. Try and get a normal night's sleep here in the Apple.
Yasiel Puig is the batter. Receiving word now that one of the game's better catchers back in the 90s and one of the game's bigger personalities, Darren Daulton, has passed away from brain cancer. We send our condolences to the Daulton family and to the Phillies family. Darren had been battling that for a long time. Part of that 1993 National League champion Philadelphia Phillies team. A big force on that team and in that clubhouse for a lot of years.
Yeah, and a member of the Phillies Wall of Fame, and something that the Philadelphia Phillies will get together next week to celebrate that Wall of Fame, and will certainly be with heavy hearts. And yeah, our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Sad night.
Two and two, the count on Puig, who's 0 for 3 tonight. Dodgers up 7-0 as they bat here in the top of the 9th inning. Looking to win for the 13th time in the past 14 games. And Ramos very frustrated at his inability to throw strikes. He walks Puig. And that will bring up Kyle Farmer, who made his major league debut 1 week ago tonight. It was the Dodger-Giant game we had on Sunday Night Baseball last week. Extra innings. He came off the bench, 11th inning, and delivered a game-winning 2-run double. And immediately had his jersey demolished by his teammates as they tackled him out on the field. That's kind of the way things have been going for the Dodgers this year. Put on the uniform and you're going to contribute.
Buster and I got a chance to speak with him yesterday about it. He was grinning ear to ear, talked about giving the ball to his dad and just how calm he was able to find himself within the at-bat. He came up with his heart pumping, but was able to work that 0-2 count and kind of grind it out so that he could calm down within it and not have it be so fast.
Well, and the way this season has gone for the Dodgers, I'm sure the guys when he was going up there saying, no problem, it's your turn tonight. And sure enough, he works an outstanding at bat.
Just how happy they were for him,
man.
too.
He mentioned that on the overhead camera, as that throng of Dodgers were going out to tackle him, you could actually see Kike Hernandez veer off in pursuit of the baseball. Because, of course, everyone's going crazy. The run's scoring, the ball's getting thrown all over the place, and Kike Hernandez wanted to make sure that they got the ball for Kyle.
And that sounds like a small thing, but I think that's one of the things also that's kind of sums up this Dodger team. There is a kind of an unselfishness, kind of a you're playing for the next guy, and that's a case of, you know, just a player in the moment saying, I know that's his first hit, I'm going to go find that thing, and that's the kind of culture that's now thriving in Los Angeles. And as we've touched on, a culture that wasn't that way a few years ago.
And here was the hit from 1 week ago, lining one down the right field line. Scoring the tying and the winning runs in the bottom of the 11th.
But look at their reaction. I mean, this is a team that wins and wins and wins, and yeah, it's the 11th inning, but I mean, that looks like a postseason celebration, the way they attacked him because of how happy they were, yes, for the win, but for Kyle Farmer.
Swing and a miss to get him for the second out.
Well, another look at that breaking ball from Ramos. It's been a steady diet of him, and when he's right, it's a nasty one. Tight break on that. Pulls the string, and Farmer out in front. It's been a wipeout pitch for A.J. Ramos the last few seasons. This year he struggled a little bit by the standard he's set with that command, walking a few more guys than normal, but stuff still outstanding.
And Lee Jansen waiting for his turn in the bottom of the ninth. Hasn't worked in 5 days, so he'll get an inning in tonight. Chris Taylor lines a ball into right center field, down and all the way to the fence. Puig is on his way to third, getting the wave. On his way home and will score. Taylor is at third with a triple. 8-0 Dodgers.
Well, this is a good look at a hitter understanding that he's going to probably get a steady diet of that slider, the breaking ball from Ramos, and it looked like a guy that was looking for this pitch. After a first pitch fastball, this ball hangs up, and look how well he waits for that ball. Gets deep in the hitting zone, and he punishes that ball with authority into the gap in right center field. And just another run for this Dodger offense.
The Dodgers have now outscored the Mets 21-4 this weekend and 57-15 this season, on their way to their 7th win in as many tries, on their way to sweeping the season series.
Dan, during this run of 51 games that they're on, so if they close this out, it'll be their 44th win in 51 games. They've outscored their opponents by an average of 2.7 runs per game. Okay, they're almost lapping their opponents in these games.
Really remarkable the run they've been on, and again, you go back to April, they started the year 10-12. And yet they've got the best record in the National League in 71 years at this point of the season. Full count. Seager tonight 2 for 4, a couple of base hits, and he scored a run. Ball 4. Frustrating inning for Ramos. And with the pitcher now hitting in the 3 spot of the lineup, Dave Roberts will call upon a pinch hitter. You got Jock Peterson coming up.
Peterson, just another piece of this deep and talented roster for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
$11 home runs on the season, a .230 hitter.
10 of those home runs have come in just 182 at bats against right-handed pitching. So more of that power matchup that they're able to create left, right, throughout this roster.
Yeah, really a platoon situation potentially in effect in center between Peterson and Kike Hernandez. Tell you, Ramos is getting more frustrated by the pitch with himself, with his inability to locate. He wants to make a good impression on his new team. And just in case, behind him in the bullpen is right-hander Chasen Bradford. 28 pitches already this inning for Ramos. Two and two. Cubs and Giants on ESPN tomorrow night. The Monday night game. Red Sox and Rays on Wednesday night. And then the Red Sox and Yankees 1 week from tonight from the Bronx. Yasiel Puig scoring on the triple by Chris Taylor this inning that extended the Dodger lead to 8-0. Runners on the corners, 2 down, and a full count on Peterson. Got him with a breaking ball to end the inning. Going to the bottom of the 9th, 8-0 Dodgers. Kenley Jansen will get an inning of work here to finish off the night. And again, our condolences. Sad news if you missed it. Longtime major leaguer Darren Daulton passing away from cancer earlier today. Our condolences and thoughts to his family. strengths the Dodgers have, they also have one of the game's elite closers in Kenley Jansen. 28 saves and 29 opportunities, a microscopic ERA, and a ridiculous strikeout to walk ratio. 72 strikeouts and 4 walks on the season.
Yeah, one of the game's greats, and he does it with just an overpowering mid-90s fastball with that natural cut to it. He'll occasionally mix in a slider, but it's pretty much here it comes. Big, hard cutter that he commands incredibly well. And look, one of the issues the Dodgers have had over the last few seasons in the postseason has been bridging that gap and getting the ball to the great Kenley Jansen. This year, I think they've shored that up much better. Wow, that nasty 92 just darting to the outside corner.
So welcome to the big leagues, Ahmed Rosario. His 6th game in the majors. Stays alive by fouling it off. He's 0 for 2 tonight, a strikeout and a flyout.
You know, I think one of the great things about when you do have a large lead and you're probably going to cruise to a division title, it allows you to use Kenley Jansen in a efficient manner, meaning heading into the postseason, he should be strong, rested, sharp, and because there's obviously going to be those games, especially with off days, where he's asked to work more than an inning. We saw him do it effectively last postseason. But I think preserving him and making sure he is as sound as can be heading into the postseason would be critical for this Dodgers team as they chase that world title.
And I feel like one of the biggest underrated signings of the offseason for the Dodgers was when they re-signed Kenley Jansen and Justin Turner. And the reason is, I mean, Jansen had more money to even go elsewhere, but he believed so much in staying with this team, and the way that him and Justin Turner kind of teamed up and communicated. It was, in fact, at Kenley Jansen's wedding, at his reception. In fact, Justin Turner told me it was when Kenley Jansen was dancing at his reception with his wife that he went up to him and said, "Hey, I just got off the phone with my agent. I'm re-signing with the Dodgers." Happy wedding gift to you. We're doing this together.
1-2. Got it.
We saw back-to-back sliders there. Not a pitch he throws a lot. He'll change speeds on it and throw this less than 10% of the time. There you see it, though. The bottom falls out of it. Rosario was able to lay off the first one down and out of the zone. Jansen goes right back to it this time, not able to lay off, way out in front over the top of that, and Barnes able to smother it in the dirt.
One down to the bottom of the 9th. 8-0 lead for the Dodgers, and off the bench comes Brandon Nimmo. Left-hand hitting outfielder to bat in the pitcher's spot. Nimmo is from Wyoming, and there is no high school baseball in Wyoming. He played American Legion ball during those years and showed enough to wind up being a first-round pick back in 2011. Second year with the big leagues. Got 73 at-bats with the Mets last year. Takes high, 2 balls and a strike. Rosario gravitating towards Reyes, as he seems to do on just about every available opportunity. So the Dodgers will go to 44-7 in their last 51 games, and will go to 79-32 on the season. On pace to win more than 110 games. The major league record for most wins in a season is 116. The 2001 Mariners, and way back when, a team we talked about earlier tonight, the 1906 Chicago Cubs, who were 116 and 36. Ball 4. Here's a list of the most wins that a team has had in baseball history. Dodgers have a chance to be in this group. And again, some of them did it in 162 games, some of them did it in shorter seasons, but they all have one thing in common. They were all awfully good.
And look at the Dodger fielders looking around. Puig, Bellinger, we saw Forsythe looking around like, did that just happen? Kenley Jansen just walked his 5th batter of the season.
Needs work, Booney. He hasn't pitched since Tuesday.
I guess so.
Michael Conforto. That walk to Nimmo, just the 2nd base runner of the night for the Mets. Travis d'Arnaud had a base hit to lead off the 3rd. That is it. Hyun-Jin Ryu, 7 outstanding innings tonight. Struck out 8. Tony Cingrani worked the 8th. Now Jansen in the 9th.
Conforto probably the hardest hit ball of the night, even though it was an out. He crushed a line drive to center field. His last at bat. Fastball away. So on a career high 9-game hitting streak. It's at stake right now in this final at bat.
Just foul. Loss for the Mets will drop them to 11 games under 500. That is their low point of the season. Everybody in the National League East looking up at the Washington Nationals, who picked up a win over the Cubs today. They were down in that game after Wilson Contreras hit a couple of homers, but they roared back to win a grand slam late for Matt Wieters. And Washington defeats the Cubs 9-4.
All the bats in that Washington lineup, Matt Wieters has probably been one of the more quiet throughout the season. Big hit.
Yeah, that's a deep lineup that the Washington Nationals have. Figure to get Trey Turner back at some point.
2 down. Sports Center comes your way next here on ESPN. Look at some NFL training camp news. A busy day around Major League Baseball. Don't forget Cubs and Giants tomorrow night. Red Sox and Rays Wednesday night here on ESPN. Red Sox and Yankees 1 week from tonight. It has been an impressive performance by the team that has been the best team in baseball so far this year. The Dodgers got the hitting, got the base running, got the pitching, got the defense. They did it all here tonight. As Drupal Cabrera. Rockies and Diamondbacks both having really good years, and both seemingly fighting for wild card positioning right now. 15 and 15.5 back. They've got a lead over Milwaukee for those 2 wild card spots. So if the season were to end today, it would be Rockies and Diamondbacks in the wild card game, with the winner getting the Dodgers in a division series.
I mean, remarkable to think here we are in early August. Both the Diamondbacks and Rockies on pace to win over 90 games, and they're buried right now in the West.
And so their teams, their general managers made moves at the deadline, knowing in all likelihood it's for a 1-game play.
Yep. You get through that 1-game play-in, though, that play.
Then you never know.
You know, there's teams have had good success.
Yep.
Getting through that first game. I think there's something to be said for playing in such a meaningful game right out of the chute while that other team's waiting for you. It gets you right into the playoff flow right away, and with a lot of confidence if you're able to win, of course.
Mets down to their final strike. And it's the Dodger fans who have hung around. And whether they're Dodger fans because maybe your grandparent was a Brooklyn Dodger fan back in the day, or whether they're Dodger fans because they're just having a great year, they're into them.
Well, they're out spending a little August summertime in New York City.
One-two again.
Brooklyn hat.
Yeah. 2-2. And it's over. Jansen with 3 strikeouts in the inning. The Dodgers win yet again. 44-7 in their last 51, 79-32 on the season. Bellinger homers, Turner homers, Ryu is outstanding, and the Dodgers sweep the Mets. The final score from Citi Field: the Dodgers 8 and the Mets nothing. For Aaron Boone, Jessica Mendoza, Buster Olney, and our crew, I am Dan Schulman saying good night from Citi Field. Thanks for watching. Sports Center is next, and you'll hear from Justin Turner, among others, when Sports Center comes your way next.